Good afternoon, and welcome to today's program, NPL at Home, Newark Police. My name is Tom Ankner, and I'm the director of the Charles F. Cummings, New Jersey Information Center at the library. Before we get started, I just wanted to encourage you all to fill out your census forms. Filling out the census is one small but very important thing everyone can do right now to help our city and our communities. If you haven't done so yet, please go to my2020census.gov and fill out the brief questionnaire. The information you provide affects funding for healthcare, transportation, your local schools, and many other needs. Remember, my2020census.gov. It is safe, secure, and confidential. Today's program is another of our NPL at Home sessions, designed to introduce people to exciting and interesting items from the special collections of the Newark Public Library. Today, I will be showing you samples from two collections, the Newark Police Department collection and the Newark Police Records collection. They sound similar, but are actually two distinct collections in the holdings of the Charles F. Cummings, New Jersey Information Center. There's been a lot of attention paid over the last couple of months to the practices of police officers nationwide. The Newark Police Department itself has been operating under a consent decree with the federal government since 2016 as a result of a, quote, pattern and practice of unconstitutional policing by the department. With this renewed attention, we thought people might be interested in the Newark Public Library's materials related to the department. So now for some background on the collections themselves. The Newark Police Records collection contains research material related to the Northwestern University Project on Governmental Responses to Crime. This program was led by Dr. Dorothy Giote, who was once an associate professor at Rutgers. She's the author of several books advocating the reform of policing in the United States. The other collection, the Newark Police Department collection, consists largely of material related to the preparation of Coping with Crime in Newark, a report done by Dr. Giote in 1980 for the Northwestern University Project. So the Newark Police Department collection focuses specifically on information about Newark. The Newark Police Records collection focuses on the project at Northwestern University in general. But it's material donated by Dr. Giote, which she dealt mostly with Newark, so a lot of that's Newark as well. Now let's take a look at some of the digitized items in these collections that are available through the library's digital archive. So first of all, I'm going to show you how to get to the digital archive. Just open your web browser and go to digital.npl.org. Let me share my screen with you. Okay, we are at the screen and let me go to, here we go. Okay, so this is the main page of the digital archive, digital.npl.org. This is the main page, and there you can go through the you can either browse the collections over here, or you can browse NPL collections here, or you can just search for a collection by keyword, and that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to enter Newark Police, because those words are contained in both of the collections I want to show you today. Hit enter. And then you wait for your search results to come up. There are a number of things that come up under Newark Police. The two that I'm most interested in are these two collections, the Newark Police Department collection and Newark Police Records. So let's click on this one first, Newark Police Department collection. Now, we have not digitized everything in these collections, but we've digitized many of the items. And so these are just the items that have been digitized that are available online. For others, you would have to come into the library when we reopen to actually look at them. So let me just show you some of these resources that are available in the Newark Police Department collection. The first, Conversational Spanish for Police Officers. This was something that Dr. Giote collected while she was doing research for her project, just on some background, I guess, on the collection. Now, here is the this is the title page of the item, which has several pages, and to move from page to page, you use the arrows down here on the bottom. So arrow to the right to go forward. Okay, arrow to the left to go backwards. Okay, it's like looking at a book. Now, if you go to the bottom of the screen, it will show you some what we call metadata, some background information, some information about the item that you're looking at. If we have a date, the date would be down here. It looks like we don't have a date for this particular item. It gives you some subject headings to give you an idea of what it's about. There's a copyright statement here. Describes the physical object that has been digitized. It's this is 21 pages, and that's a measurement of the pages. and just gives you some other information. Now, if you want to take a look at the item itself, it's sometimes easier to make it full screen. So you click on this symbol right here, makes it full screen. Sometimes you can also, if you need to make it even bigger than that, you can use the magnifying glass with the plus in the middle of it. That makes it larger. And then you can just drag it up and down to see the top and bottom of the pages. So I'll just take you through the first couple of pages of this source. So Conversational Spanish, we have a table of contents, a guide to pronunciation, the numbers. If you like to recite the Spanish numbers as a kid, this might be interesting to you. Then General Conversational Spanish. I like this page because it's the first two items are not things that I think of as General Conversational Spanish, but you have to remember that this was written for police officers. So the first item is I am a detective. How to say I am a detective in Spanish. The second item is we are police. And that's also how to say that in Spanish. That, of course, is very important if you're a police officer and you are encountering someone on the street or trying to arrest someone or whatever, just to identify yourself. And then we can take a look at some of the other pages, some other general, expressions, general conversational Spanish expressions, the colors, pronouns, searching a person. Oh, that's kind of interesting. Stop, keep your hands out of your pockets. Have you ever been arrested? These are, common things that I guess a police officer would have to ask someone maybe in certain situations. So that's that first item, general conversational Spanish. Let's go back to the list of items from back to the Newark Police Department collection. Go back to the general list of items. The next item is crime in Newark from 1836 to 1860. This is a copy of a paper that was written by someone named Alan Steinberg. It was from 1972. It was turned in December 6th, 1972. It looks like it was in for a master's degree program that this paper was written. Again, we bring it up full page to make it easier to read, and maybe use the magnifying glass a little bit to make it even larger. And here it says, Alan Steinberg, December 6th, 1972, Master's Prospectus. And the title is Crime in Newark, 1836 to 1860. So this is something Dr. Guillot used to get some historical background on the police department in Newark. Again, you can page through this document, page by page. It's not a very long paper, about 10 pages. And actually the paper itself is only about 6 pages. And then there's a bibliographic essay at the back, some books which could be helpful to a researcher, some books that Alan Steinberg used, some other sources that he used to find out information for his paper. Okay, so that was the next. So let's go back to the next item on the list. We click on Newark Police Department collection at this screen. The next item doesn't really have to do with Dr. Guillot's research. That was something else we had donated that you can also look at, but it's not specifically having to do with Dr. Guillot's research. The next item is of interest to me because it was an interview with somebody who used to work at the library, a fellow named Bob Blackwell, who worked in the New Jersey room at the New York Public Library for many years, retired about 2006 or 2007, and was very knowledgeable about Newark history. So Dr. Guillot interviewed him in sometime in the late 70s for her report on crime in Newark because she knew he knew something about Newark history. Here's the metadata on this report. It was actually in 1980. That it looks like this report was produced in 1980. So an interview with Bob Blackwell, and again, make it large, and you can see, use the magnifying glass. So you can see it's actually an informant, Charles Cummings, and Bob Blackwell, but it looks like the interview was mostly with Blackwell. He was asked some questions and she typed up his responses, his feelings about police in Newark and police and the history of Newark. We'd like to list of issues to tell how significant the local political leadership perceived these issues to be during Mayor Gibson's years in office. And this, again, had to do with police. And she was interested in like Newark in the 1970s, it looks like, as she was preparing her report. Okay, so Bob Blackwell, that was another item in that collection. I just thought that was funny when I saw his name because I've met Bob Blackwell. He's been retired for many years and actually died a couple of years ago, but it was kind of interesting that to see that she interviewed him. This is the next item is an interview with Donald Malafronte. Donald Malafronte is somebody who was an aide to Mayor Adenesio in the 1960s and also worked briefly for Mayor Gibson in the early 1970s as well. And he was also interviewed by her for her project. And this is a copy of his interview. His was very long, about 56 pages here. Okay. Could be interesting. He's somebody who would be able to really talk about Newark in the 1960s. There's a lot. This I don't believe was for her research. This next, there's some other historical information here. I want to show you this last piece. This is an art and a little report on police in Military Park that she obtained for her format. This is from the early 80s, 1983. It has a cover memo from Sharp James, who was a councilman at the time. This is before he became mayor. And this was a report he sent to Charles Cummings, and Dorothy Guillot used this in her research. So this is a memo done as a memo from Sharp James to the chief of police at the time, Charles Zizza. And there's some kind of interesting, I haven't really looked through this closely, but there's some potentially interesting information in here that she used for her research. So that was basically the Newark Police Department collection. So I want to search Newark Police again and show you the other collection I wanted to show you, the Newark Police records. Actually, I just searched for Newark Police records here, so they come up right away. Yes, okay, so this is the collection I want to look at now. Newark Police records, there's a lot more that we digitized from here, and there's a lot of really interesting information here. The first thing didn't work. One thing I have to tell you about, we are switching platforms in our digital collection, or our digital archive. We are going from into a new platform, and not everything is working the way it should. For some reason, this image did not come up. So there seems to be some problem with that. So that's over the next couple of months, we plan to fix a lot of these issues that we're having with the digital archive. Eventually, everything should work the way it's supposed to. But anyway, let me go on to the next item, the Adenesio Chronology. This was an item she put together. This is something that Dr. Guillot, I think, created for her research. Hugh Adenesio was mayor of Newark in the 1960s, from 1962 to 1970. And he was a congressman representing Newark in Congress before that, before 1962. And she put together this little chronology of his time in Newark, which included these entries from the New York Times Index. First time I looked at these, I was wondering what these were, and then I remembered I used to use this when I was a teenager, before things were searchable online, back in the Stone Age. Anyway, you can click through this by page. This is kind of interesting. She was kind of mapping Mayor Adenesio's time in office, and also before he was mayor, with some of the other things that were going on in Newark at the time. So that was one item there. Then there are a number of statistical crime reports available in this collection. There are these annual arrest records from 1955 through about 1977. She was writing her report in the late 70s. So here, if we click on the annual arrest records for 1955, we'll just look at a couple of these, or maybe just one of them. Again, we make it large. These are statistics on people arrested in Newark for various crimes. These are by race and by age, and I believe also by gender. Yeah, it's divided by, if you look at them, make this a little bigger, number of males arrested, number of females arrested, under 15, age 15, age 16, age 17, up through about the mid-20s, and then they give ranges, age 25 through 29, 30 through 34, and up in 50 and over. It's interesting to look at this. There was actually one person under 15 who was arrested for murder and non-negligent manslaughter in 1955. One person 18, one female 19, one male 21, one female 24. And these are just statistics, of course. You know, you don't know the stories behind any of these, although they're kind of interesting to just look at from a statistical viewpoint. And she probably found this really useful in her research for her report. So that is the 1955 report, and she has these all the way up through like 1977, I think. Yeah, here's 1971. Go to the next page of results. 78 actually, and 78 actually. And then there was a more detailed statistical report for 1977. I don't know if it looks like this is the only one that got into the collection, or at least it's the only one we digitized, but this gives more detail than those 2-page reports. If you scroll through this, it gives a lot of the same statistics, but it also gives some detail as well. This is a much longer report. This is 22 pages as opposed to 2 pages of the other reports. Okay, and then we go back to our page of listings. Okay, this is kind of interesting. The anti-crime program in Newark. This was something I think funded by the federal government that was taking place in Newark in the 1970s. And this is a little booklet about it, the various different programs that were involved. This is the Newark High Impact Anti-Crime Program. This was a program from the federal government. I believe they funded this as a way to cut down on crime. And of course, in the 1970s, crime was a really big concern in Newark. So this goes through the different programs. This is the crime analysis team. It gives a little bit of background on that program. The street lighting program, it gives a description of what this program was. This project installed high-intensity street lamps in 3 selected high-impact target crime police sectors of the South Ward for the purpose of reducing crime in those areas. And this gives a little report on what they did. There's supported work. This is providing work for ex-offenders, I believe. This is also a vocational legal project aimed at ex-offenders. There's one I saw in here, and it was like a 4-H outer limits. This is for youth, I think, who committed crimes or had been accused of crimes. This gave them time in the country as a way to show that there were alternatives to a life of crime in cities. This project services adjudicated target crime offenders in an effort to reduce their recidivism rate by exposing these youth to a wilderness experience outside the environs of Newark. It also aims to develop leadership qualities among its participants and provide an alternative referral modality for social services for delinquent youth. Sounds like an interesting program for me. To me, I don't know how successful it was, but it's kind of an interesting attempt that was made to provide these kids with some other option. Okay, so and then here we had annual arrest statistical reports before. There were also some monthly statistical reports for some months in the 1970s. This is April 1974. Look at these. This is a bit more detailed than those annual reports. Gives various crimes, the age of people who, I think there's also a section on the race of the people who were convicted. I was looking at this. This is 1974. White, Negro, Indian, Chinese, Japanese. It took me a minute to realize that Indian probably means Native American in today's terminology. Not Asian Indian. So through this report, this is kind of a more detailed report that was available in those annual reports. You can go back to the previous screen, and these are the various monthly reports. There's a nice bibliography here for that I think she probably used in her research, Dr. Guillotte. So let's. This paper is a little hard to read. It was done on it was either a bad copy or done on a very a typewriter that needed a better ribbon. I think this is prepared in the typewriter age. So this is this is a bibliography of sources she consulted for her research in various different cities. I'm of course, we're of course mostly interested in the section on Newark, so I'm just going to bring you to the page on Newark. And some of these are interesting sources. I think we probably own most of these. I didn't look in our catalog to see whether we own them, but we probably do own most of these. So, or some of them, and some of them could be online now. So you could look for some of these sources and actually get them if you want to consult some of the same sources she used in her research. Okay, and I just wanted to show you a few of those items that she contained in her research. That is the Newark Police Records Collection, and we also have the Newark Police Department Collection. Now, I also wanted to tell you about something else. Just 1 minute, okay? To get it on my phone. It's in my email. Okay, so so I also wanted to let you know that some of this material was used for an exhibit by Professor Mary Rizzo's class at Rutgers Newark a few years ago. The exhibit, called Rebellion to Review Board, traced the struggle in Newark for a civilian review board to deal with complaints about police officers. The exhibit has been transformed to a website, which I will show you now. So let me share my screen again, and I will take you to that. And I'll show you, this is the front, this is let me see if this goes in. Okay, so this is the address. This is from a blog from the Rutgers University Libraries. They took the exhibit that they did and that they exhibited at the Newark Public Library back in 2016 or 2017 it was, I think it was 2017, from Rebellion to Review Board. And this is some detail. This is the introduction page, then there's a page, another part of the exhibit, Race, Rebellion, and Reform. And there's a lot of history here and a lot of just a lot of history on the site. And much of the material they used is material that is available in our collection, some of which the material I just showed you, but also are some photos that we have, which I did not show you. This is a photo that we have from the Newark, in our Newark riots pictures. This is a picture of Louise Epperson, who was a community activist in the 60s and 70s. That's a photo she got from us as well. This is a photo from our collection. Many of these are items or things that she got from our collection. I just wanted to show you this because this is one example of how researchers can use our online material, as well as some of the other material. This material can be used to create websites, exhibits. It can be used as research for academic papers and books and films. And all of this material, digitized material, is available free online at digital.npl.org, which was that site I was showing you before. Does anyone have any questions? We only really have one person. It's unfortunate, but it would have been nice to have some more people. But if no one has any questions, thank you very much for being here today. Thank you for joining me for a tour of the online materials related to the Newark Police Department. Please join me on Wednesday night this week for another program. And the person who's really organizing this is here today. Dale, my colleague Dale, is here. The unfolding of legal responses to Black Lives Matter. My colleague Dale Colston and I will be talking to 3 experts about Newark's new Office of Violence Prevention and a proposed law to provide the public with access to law enforcement disciplinary records. That will be this Wednesday, July 29th at 6:00 p.m. on Zoom. And for other Newark Public Library programs, visit the library's calendar at npl.org/calendar. Good afternoon, everyone. Be safe.